Hello there, Tower Records fans. My name is Whitney Morris. Today we've got Doe Paoro, who is a very, very talented musician. Man, she goes into all different types of genres, electropop, folk stuff. She's like such a great singer, and I'm so excited to be talking with her today. She's got a new single called Universe Promises. I was listening to it yesterday, and it is fantastic. It's a very healing song, and something tells me that my conversation with Doe is going to be very healing as well. So I'm really excited for her to be joining me today. And as always, please ask questions in the comments if there's something that you guys want to know from Doe. I love hearing from you guys, and so she should just be joining us in a moment. Hope everybody is sure doing well today. If you don't know anything about me, I'll just let you know while we're waiting for Doe to join. I used to work for Metal Sucks, Nerdist, Geek and Sundry, Sci-Fi, and I have a huge interest in music. I've interviewed bands for a long time, and Tower Records has been so wonderful to work with because, man, we all really need something to do, don't we? And so talking to artists about their experience has been so healing. And of course, Tower Records is for record collecting, and so if you're trying to avoid Amazon in these dark days, which I recommend, the prices are better on Tower Records as well, so definitely check them out. And let's see if Doe's here. There she is. Okay, hopefully that is on our side today. Hello, Doe.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
You know, taking it day by day.
I know, such a loaded question.
Yeah, it's really actually hard to answer, and I catch myself anytime I'm talking to a friend. I'm like, how do I even, what answer am I expecting from people?
You know what I like about it is it's like we have been running that script for so long.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how are you? It's like the standard way we say hello, and I feel like this whole period of time is making us question every part of the script.
Yeah, and if you're not prepared to really deal with the answer, then don't ask, because we're all doing generally bad.
Yeah, and also I don't know, what would it be like to answer that question honestly?
Yeah. How do you even? I don't. Okay, so instead, I will say congratulations on the new song because it is fabulous. It's so good and fun and healing, and I really loved it. So I'm excited to get into it with you.
Yeah, me too.
First, I would just like to know you're in Los Angeles, right?
I am. Where are you from? Or where
I'm in LA as well. I'm in Silver Lake, and it's been a big couple weeks with the protests, and also the bars reopened and then immediately closed, and it's every day it feels like there's something crazy happening. So how has your quarantine experience been?
Whew, it has been reflective. I'm it's hard to find a few words that can generalize the whole thing because, like you said, just in the last few minutes, it's very day to day.
Yeah. Have you, the way I guess I like to ask that question of people, because you're right, it is really hard to give a couple words on something that's now been 4 months. What's time? I don't know. So something that I like to ask instead is, what is something that has been bringing you joy every day? And also I would love to know if you've learned any good habits and any bad habits.
Oh yeah. What is bringing me joy? I am feeling really grateful for a lot of the small things. I'm also actually grateful for this whole experience. I really am. I think whatever comes out of this, even though it's painful and it's uncertain and it's anxiety inducing, it's been such an amazing time of getting to be slow and just getting to practice not being overdoing stuff. And I don't know, for me, it's been a real checkpoint of okay, I can't indulge in my usual distractions. So what am I doing? I'm at a point in my life where it's very much what are you creating? And it's just been a really good time to remember and get clear on what's important to me. So
I love that take, and that's something that I've been hearing from a lot of musicians, because you know, touring is a huge aspect of musicians' lives, and that has been completely stripped away. So I know that a lot of musicians and a lot of artists have really been reflecting on what they are putting into the world and reflecting on how far they've come. So I hope that that's been your experience.
yeah, for sure.
Cool. I'm happy to hear that. Have you been working on any music?
I have been. I thought that this would be a much more creative time, but I think the coping of everything just takes so much energy.
Hmm.
And I didn't think that. Like, if you told me this was going to happen a while ago, I'd been like, okay, great. A few months in, like indoors, I'll just be creating the whole time. And the first month, like month and a half, was really heavy.
Yeah. And that's interesting that you say that because I do think that, especially with the musicians that I've been talking to, and certainly like my writer
Yeah.
friends and, everybody in the film industry has been like, okay, great. We have this time, like, better finish the movie or better finish the album. And like that, it's such a tall ask because we're experiencing trauma on a worldwide scale. But I'm happy to hear that you have been at least playing music, maybe even just for yourself. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, one thing that's been really cool is, I feel like the pandemic has created this no excuses. Like, I'm curious actually if you've like picked up any new skills, but like amazing artist and he's an amazing producer, like Elliott Smith and Cat Power and all these legends. So
That's amazing. And
yeah.
I love what you just said about learning to color your hair, picking up instruments, because I think a lot of times, we set unrealistic expectations for like, I'm going to get this far. But like, I cut my bangs for the first time a month ago and it wasn't a disaster. And like little things, they add up. And I hope that you saying all those things out loud, I hope that a little bit of pride was sparked inside of you because that all is like huge.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I think it's been cool. And I'm sure like everyone, there's a piece for everyone in that. Like, yeah, just
Yeah.
learning more self-sufficient or something.
Well, let's talk about Universe Prom. And I love that you posted the lyrics as well. And I would love for you to talk a little bit about what the song is thematically and what it means to you.
Mm. Um, I was really, I guess I was really moved when I wrote this song because I was particularly in a point where all these things were falling apart in my life.
Mm.
And and my default would be to write a song of like sorrow. Like that's kind of where my inspiration goes. And instead I came out with this, which just, and I felt this. I felt like this curiosity for what was coming next. And like a real bigger faith that like, okay, if things are falling apart, it's because they're not meant to stay. And like, things that are solid don't fall apart. So um, that curiosity is really in the song, and like a faith that I hadn't had before, that like whatever, there's a bigger plan, and um, life has this mystery to it that keeps us all like on the chain,
Mm.
and like a rose has that mystery to it. We don't understand why we're drawn to the things we are, but we know like that there's a lot more to this than meets the eye.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of where the song was coming from.
Can I ask, did you write this before COVID hit? Because it seems so of the time and it's so appropriate for right now. So was that even related?
No, thank you for
Wow.
asking and thank you for saying that. But no, I wrote this last August. Last
Wow.
August, last July, a year ago.
With no, that's so crazy that there's no, like, it wasn't even intended for that to reflect the time. So I hope that that's been some feedback that you've been getting a lot because that was my first thought.
That's so awesome. Yeah. I'm happy it came out now. It's the right time.
Yeah. Something I in going back in your library, I noticed a lot of, like you said, a lot of like songs about sorrow, a lot of like
Mhm.
picking apart relationships. And something that I was curious about, I interviewed an artist last week about this, a similar thing. I heard forever ago. I don't remember where it's from, but I heard the phrase that you either listen to music to affirm your mood or to change your mood. And I would like to know
Oh
if
my gosh.
if like the majority of your music is one way or is the other.
Wow. That is so on point. As a listener, I'm definitely an affirmer.
Hmm.
I don't really listen to like get the vibe up. I'm like, I want to wallow, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I if I feel sad, I don't want to listen to something upbeat. I like to wallow in my sadness. But with writing, I think it's changing actually. I used to be an affirmer, like everything I wrote was just what I was experiencing, and now it's a little bit different. I'm able to zoom out a bit and kind of be like, well, how do I want to see this?
I like that. Yeah, it just
Yeah.
it's I think that when you're caught up in your emotions, I mean, and also as like a hyper emotional person myself, I'm the
Mm.
very much the same way, but I think that it can be really powerful, and Universe Promises is kind of a testament to that, how you can look at something a different way and get something completely out of it. And that makes me
Are you an
curious.
affirmer, or do you listen? Okay.
Absolutely a wallower, an affirmer. There's no ignoring emotions, and so I'm the put on sad music when I'm sad kind of person.
Okay.
Well, that makes me really curious then. You mentioned that you've been playing music. I don't know if you've been committed to writing an album, or what your experience has been during quarantine writing music, but I'm curious if what the nature of everything happening has been affecting your songwriting, and if you've been writing songs about what's going on.
Yeah. And I think that is one of the reasons it's been so hard to write.
Mm.
Because A, we're still in it.
Yeah, very much so.
It's so intense. It's so multi-layered, and it's so much bigger than like everything. So I think it's really hard to write about. Like I'm finding myself not at a loss for words, but that there are almost not the words like to like I don't know the words somehow.
Yeah.
Um, so and I can't like this upset me, but I asked a friend of mine who's a producer and he's a big pop producer, and I was like, so are you still writing during quarantine? Or sorry, still working with artists? And he goes, oh yeah. And I was like, are they writing about politics? And he was like, no. He's like, pop stars. He's like, people don't want to hear about politics in pop music.
I
Really
think
bummed me
that
out.
that's totally untrue.
I also think it's totally untrue and totally a privileged, like messed up thing to say. But maybe it is. I don't know. Like I'm not working with those artists. I know that I don't resonate with that. And I'm trying to understand what my piece is. And I'm definitely writing songs from my limited experience about it's coming to this moment. It's speaking to the moment for me.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to hear that, and I'm happy to hear that you don't want to shy away from those things, because I do think artists' voices, they always say that the job of an artist is to make revolution irresistible. That's something
Mm.
that I always am like, and
There's so many gems. I'm like, what is that?
I think I do a lot of thinking about these things. I also like
Mm.
I am an actor also, and so I'm like deeply interested in telling stories that change people, and I
Mm.
think it's so important. And like, talk to Rage Against the Machine about making political music. I think that there's a place for it anywhere, and at any time. But you're right, and I think that it really is a time to be gentle on yourself. Artists, they carry that burden, and I think a lot of the ones that I've been speaking with have this sense of duty and being like, what am I gonna say about all of this? What is my piece for this? And it's
Hmm.
also a time where like you're experiencing this just as much as everybody else, and I think it's an unfair. Do you feel like there's maybe an unfair pressure for artists to be creating right now because their voice is needed?
Yeah, I think in general, okay, it's a good question. I think in general, what's happening with our culture is this, like this need to respond to things immediately. Like a tweet comes out and you have to get on it, and
Yeah.
somebody releases a statement and you have to get on it, and there's a protest and you have to say something about it. And I just think that's so not the way our brains and a lot of us process. Like it takes time to integrate, and these sort of unthought out responses, like there needs to be space to have silence, I guess, and be like, okay, I'm processing, I'm integrating, I don't have to speak right now. Actually, I can just listen.
Yeah, well said. And honestly, the Twitter makes our brains broken. Finding that out.
Yeah.
Well, I have so many questions about the way you work as a musician because to me, your music is so lyrics based and you
Mhm.
write beautiful lyrics. And
Thank
I'm
you.
curious about how long it typically takes you to write a song start to finish, or is it different every time?
It's different every time. That I think is what makes it so frustrating.
Hmm.
Actually, like John Mayer of all people has a really amazing Berkeley talk about this. But he's like the something about how songwriting, it's not, you're not building on anything every time. Like just because you wrote a hit one day doesn't mean the next day you're gonna write a hit. Um,
Yeah.
and
Wow,
I
that's
think
so interesting. Yeah.
it is. It's not like that. It's not like you crack the code and then you have the codes. It's you're really starting from scratch each time. Some one of the songs I wrote that I like think it's my best lyrics I wrote in 15 minutes, and other songs have taken years. So
Wow.
it's weird.
It's yeah, it feels arbitrary.
Zany.
And I think that the longer you do music, that's an important lesson to learn early on because the longer you've been doing music, I imagine it's easier and easier to get frustrated with yourself if you're going through a writer's block or, whatever you want to call it. Do you have
Mhm.
sort of a go-to when you're experiencing that, when you're not sure how to finish a song? Is there something that you do, or do you just like leave it for a little bit and then come back to it when you're ready?
Sometimes I punish myself a little bit to like try, sit at it every day. But the last few years I've been more in this zone of if it's not coming, go do something else.
Yeah. Yeah, that seems like the healthiest option to me. um, Something that also has really it comes across in your music a lot, and reading interviews with you is that you seem to have this spirit of experimentation where you don't linger too long on one kind of genre. You've experimented with a lot of electronic stuff, a lot of more pared down stuff, and also a lot of different methods of recording, is my understanding. Do you
Hmm.
have a favorite way to record? Do you have anything that you would like to try that you haven't yet?
Whew, so many things. Yeah, I think every time it changes for me, and I kind of just let like follow what I'm inspired by.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in some ways I'm jealous of those artists who have like established a aesthetic and every time can go back there because it just depends on the period of life. I would love to do something more orchestral at some point.
Yeah, I would
Yeah,
dig that.
yeah, I
I
really want to
support
do
that
that.
decision.
I really want to do a collection of like healing songs that are not necessarily even my own, just like covers, um, but with like really just sort of instrumentation that's meant to create peace. So those are things that I'd
Yeah,
like to do.
let's talk about that a little bit because I watched your singing bowls video and it was so beautiful and relaxing. And I mentioned this at the top. I really gathered from you that you're a very healing oriented person, and that's also where I'm at emotionally always.
Mm,
And you in the singing bowl video, you had this Sanskrit holy mantra, and I would love to know more about where you found that and why you decided to make that video because it's gorgeous.
thank you. I have gotten really into sound healing in the last few years,
Cool.
which was, I mean, it's such a long story, but I'm trying to give the cliff notes. I think the cliff notes is I've always been interested in healing work. I've been living a dual life for a really long time where it was like music, songwriting, career, and then I was like hiding the fact that anytime I wasn't on the road, I was taking courses, going into retreat, going to India when I had the money and I could, studying with teachers, and like I didn't know how to integrate them because the music industry felt so toxic to me. Like there
Mm,
was no space for that, and it just got to the point where I was like, I can't actually do this. Like this is definitely not my path. Like it's not my path to suppress this part of myself, and it's not my path to be part of an industry that I see as really problematic.
hmm. Yeah, and I know that you mentioned also that you are a Reiki practitioner, and that goes hand in hand with that. I'm curious, do you ever see, because you just mentioned, and also you are so not the first person that I've interviewed on Tower to mention how toxic the music industry is. Do you
Hmm.
think that you are going to ever merge those two aspects of your life, or will you keep them separate, you think?
Oh, I'm definitely emerging. Like I'm figuring out, I don't see part of the problem I've had in the last years is I don't see anyone who's doing what I want to do. And I think it's hard to know what your path is then because I'm like, how do I merge the spirituality, healing, and music in a way that feels authentic to me? And I mean, Alice Coltrane may be somebody who did it in a
Yeah,
really specific way.
yeah.
So I like look to her. Some of the Lilith Fair women of the 90s, Nat, who wrote that song Carnival? I'm totally spacing out right now. Natalie something.
Ooh, I'm drawing a blank.
I'm drawing a blank. Anyways, they seem to have done it, but I'm trying to figure out how to do it.
Is it Natalie Imbruglia?
No, it's
No,
not. Uh, anyone know?
I don't know. But we did actually get two great questions from the comments. Shrek Boy and Tacos Trash asks
Hi,
what is your
Shrek Boy.
favorite song? And Mandala Yoga Shiatsu says, can you sing us a Tibetan song? I'll
Natalie
leave that up
Merchant.
to
There it is.
you.
Thank you.
Natalie Merchant, yeah.
Natalie Merchant. It was like right there. What is my favorite song? I don't know. When I'm asked about like favorites in music, I feel like my brain just goes completely blank.
It's impossible. But I'll extend the question for fairness. That is, what is a song that you have maybe had on repeat lately?
Yeah, a song I guess that I've had on repeat all year is Gracias a la Vida. That's one of my favorite songs. Gracias a la Vida.
I've
Um,
never heard that. I'm gonna write it down right now so I can listen to it.
by Violeta Parra. She's a Chilean songwriter who is amazing. And that song is like, if I think about a song for the life, that's the song. It's so incredible.
I
Lyrically.
mean, based on my cursory understanding of Spanish, I feel like it's going to be a very healing song to listen to.
Yeah.
Well, I want to talk with you more about some of the music that you've released this year. You just collaborated with Misty Boyce on The Clearing, and I love
I
that song
did.
as well. Can you tell me, had you guys collaborated before, and what was that process like?
It was so natural. I met Misty. We have a ton of mutual friends, and it's strange it took us so long to meet. But I saw her perform at the Standard. Do you ever
Oh,
go to the
cool.
Standard for
Yeah. Oh,
KCRW
yeah.
and stuff?
Yeah. The downtown one or the West Hollywood one?
West Hollywood.
LA, guys.
LA guys. Shrek Boy, I just want to say that I see your comment and it means a lot to me, and I'm grateful for that. Um, so I met her there. I saw her perform. I go there a lot because I perform there a lot, um, and I was really moved by her. I was like, Misty is a raw nerve. Like she just says whatever is in her heart, and it's so rare. I was very moved, and I came up to her at the end of the show, and I was like, I want to write with you or connect. And so we really started by writing together.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
amazing when that just happens. I feel like it's lightning in a bottle. That's amazing.
It is
Um,
lightning in a bottle.
you've also collaborated with Adam Rhodes in the past, and I love the songs that you guys do together. And I am wondering, is there somebody that you have not collaborated with yet that you are really looking forward to, or have like a bucket list?
Oh God, I mean, so many bucket lists, but I don't have anyone lined up that I'm going to collaborate with right now. But
Collaborating
there's
right now seems like a difficult thing to do.
psychically, I'm collaborating. Psychically, I'm calling.
Yes, yes. You mentioned something just now that I want to go back to. What was it? Uh, oh yeah, live streaming. So you
Mm.
mentioned that this is kind of new to you, and I would love to know your experience and how you've been connecting with fans live streaming. I know that you just did a benefit for the people of the Amazon rainforest with like Bonnie Prince Billy and Devendra
Hmm.
Banhart, which like sounded like it was amazing, and I'm very sad that I missed it. Can you talk
Yeah.
a little bit about what your experience has been like and how you've been connecting with fans in that way?
Yes, I'm figuring it out. I mean, as we all are, like, I love how everyone's commenting. I think that really helps. I'm sure you probably feel the same, but
I love it. Yeah.
I love it because when we first entered the quarantine and I was like, okay, let's go live, and very awkward and I didn't feel that connection.
Mm.
And now I think we're all learning together how we can feel like we're in the same space. And definitely through the comments, it really helps to be able to respond. And yeah, it's been really exciting actually to explore like how do we connect with these new constraints.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, because we're kind of forced to, you know, you're somebody if you're someone who needs human connection, which who doesn't, you kind of have to be forced to adapt. And also as a professional, that's something that I'm finding in speaking to all these musicians, like that's something that everybody is kind of new at and discovering. And
Hmm.
on that, Shrek Boy also had a great question, which is, what is your mantra if you have one?
Ooh, I think maybe this too shall pass. I know it's such an obvious one, but it's for better or worse.
Yeah, yeah, it sticks in your head for a reason. And
Yeah, my grandma gave me that one.
what do you say to the people who say right now, you know, as a response to, I want things to go back to normal, what would you say to people who, I've seen a lot of people say, well, we shouldn't go back to normal. This is the new normal, is because a lot of change, especially in Los Angeles, you know, there's been
Hmm.
so much civil unrest. There's been, you know, so many
Hmm.
people standing up and actually paying attention to, let's say, our police budget and things like that. What would be your
Hmm.
response to something like that?
To saying let's go back to normal.
Yeah, or even the you know, the people who disagree with that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't think I think that's a delusion. I think you're going to cause yourself a lot of suffering if you think we're going back to normal.
Mm.
I think the winners of this pandemic are the people who can adapt the quickest. It's like Darwin. It's just evolution. It's a nature of evolution. Adapt quicker, you will be stronger because there's no going back. And this is the problem with humans. This is why I wrote that song, Nostalgia. And I
Mm.
think why it resonates with people is because when we get attached to life a certain way, it's going to be disappointing because it inevitably changes. And if that structure was solid, like the way we were living, it wouldn't have crumbled so fast.
Yeah, yeah,
It just wouldn't
awesome.
have. And it wasn't normal. Like seeing all these things that we haven't been looking at and haven't been addressing that is so not normal. It's so disconnected and so like psychically unwell. I
Mm.
think our society is really going through a giant awakening of like our inner world and connecting to a greater, deeper humanity.
Yeah, I agree with that. And also on your post about your singing bowl video, I noticed that you posted some astrology stuff as well. And I also have a huge interest in astrology, and I've noticed that that is something that is echoed in what's happening. You know, when you look at it and when you really dive deep into it, it's not saying that it predicted it, but it is informing some of this energy, and I think that's so interesting. Can you tell me a little bit about why you find astrology interesting?
Yes, but first I want to ask you what your sign is.
Cancer.
I knew it. I
Cancer,
was like,
Leo,
she's got.
Ryan.
I'm sorry. I wish I guessed because I
You knew.
took away the joy. I was like, I'm definitely sitting with a Cancer right now.
Yeah. Leo rising, which saves me when I need to like do performance, but like
I
sensitive
literally was
one.
between the two. I like was like definitely. I thought was thinking Cancer, and I was like, ooh, Leo.
Good
That's
instincts,
amazing.
yeah.
Okay. Um, yeah, I think astrology. So what I like about astrology is gives me a sense of comfort, like in okay, things are sort of just meant to happen. Like I don't know, some stuff is destiny, and whether you believe it or not, it's a story that I find helpful, which is why I continue with it.
Yeah.
And I do know that these things are affected by it. I feel it. I feel like, I mean, women know the moon affects our cycles. Like it's not just like new age, blah, blah, blah. We are connected to these other planets. And I just, yeah, I think astrology can be very helpful. It also helps me in knowing somebody's sign
Yeah.
in
It's a
terms of
tool.
it's a tool, expectation management.
Yeah. Are you on CoStar?
I am.
Hell yeah.
Hello from Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's this game.
It's great. Oh wait, co-star is the one that I actually had to delete because their like little messages was a little too passive aggressive for me. But the pattern is the one that,
I like the pattern more than CoStar, and my sister and I both agree that CoStar is a little negative.
yeah, they kind of like call you out sometimes. Doe, it has been so much fun speaking with you today. I would love to, before I let you go, I have one more question, and that is that here at Tower Records we have a saying, and that is no music, no life. And I would love to know what that means to you.
Mm. Um, what it means to me is that if the music stops, the life force stops.
Mm.
Because to be creative, to be alive is to be creative and to be inspired and to be excited to produce and express. And music is our joy in that, our collective joy in that way, and our collective grief. So I think that's what it means to me. As long as there's music, we're doing okay.
Very well said. Thank you so, so much for joining me. And before I let you go, I would love to just give you the floor if you have anything to say to fans who are going to be watching this, people trying to get through quarantine, and
Mm.
also um, if you have any hopes for people who listen to your music and what you hope they get from that.
Okay, thank you. I want to, yeah, I have a lot of hope. You know, when I put out Universe Promises this week, I was hoping that it would give people hope for when you feel down, because as bad as things are, there will be more joy. There always is. That's always the way it works. And I think we need to keep our eyes on that pattern and just have trust that that's the way life goes. And we don't, it's time is not linear. So just because it feels horrible right now, or if it does for you, then doesn't mean that it won't, some amazing thing won't happen tomorrow.
I got chills.
Aw,
Thank you so much, Joe, and
thank you.
congratulations on the new song. I'm speaking for everybody in the chat and watching this. We cannot wait to see what you do next, and stay safe.
Thank you so much. Such a joy.